All right, so I saw the Evo announcement yesterday, and I was streaming. I had my kind of preliminary reaction. I wanted to formally kind of, do a little talk because I think I haven't been outspoken enough, if anything, about online Smash, online fighting games, Evo Online, what I think the community could be doing better, what I think Nintendo is or isn't doing. And I also wanted to clear up some misconceptions because I think people have the wrong idea about the situation that happened at the Nintendo, was it Smash Ultimate Online Championships. I think some of you are going to be disappointed because I think some of you think that there's this grand conspiracy, and that I and Vicky Kitty were instructed by Nintendo, to keep things on the down low or whatever. So this is the moment that a lot of people have been memeing on. There's a very famous Twitch clip that's going around.
So it looks like Seth not willing to relinquish any of this pressure, taking full stage control and just diving off, throwing caution to the wind.
You can see him going.
Take a quick pause in the action in the northeast region between Seth and iSnacks and let you guys know, during this viewing, you might see a little bit of a slowdown or buffering, but do not worry. The players aren't seeing that. That's not affecting them, and that will not affect the VODs afterwards, of course. A lot of levers and pullers being switched right now. And you take a look at the first two matches between Seth and iSnacks, and Toph, game two, a huge comeback is what we saw right there.
Yeah, levers and pullers. Yeah, levers and pullers is actually funny because it's not levers and pullers. Normally say levers and pulleys, but let me first start by introducing Jordan Kent. So Jordan Kent, first of all, is a man I have a lot of respect for. I don't know if you guys thought I was going to say that or whatever. Jordan Kent is really good at what he does, and he's not some salaried Nintendo employee. He's not a representative of Nintendo or anything like that. He has a sports background. He made my job very, very easy because what he did, he would basically say, okay, this is where we're at in the bracket. Toph, what are your thoughts on this match that's coming up? What are your thoughts? Vicky, what are your thoughts on the match that just happened? So basically what he's doing is he's kind of just segueing in and out of breaks, segueing in and out of matches. Like, you're even hearing the way I usually talk, I'm kind of more casual, right? He's very kind of crisp. And so his style is really, really good for this whole sports desk thing that we were kind of going for. Again, he's not a voice of Nintendo here. The take that I've seen, and I think what a lot of people assumed was happening at the time, is that we got word from Nintendo or something like that, and they were like, yo, we gotta hide the fact that this game has online lag or whatever. We gotta emphasize that the players aren't experiencing any lag or anything like that, and like, you gotta shut that down or whatever. So from my perspective, and this is where I'm gonna disappoint a lot of you, that's not actually at all really what happened. So the thing that's gonna disappoint a lot of people was there's not some grand conspiracy here. I legitimately didn't know how spectator lag worked in Smash Ultimate at this point because the reality was I hadn't played a ton of it. But honestly, when I play Ultimate online, I don't usually experience like actual stuttering and like the loading icon, or at least that hadn't happened to me. So this was actually the production, I believe, at the time. I think they were still kind of figuring out things on their end. So this is like literally the contractors that are running the stream, right? Not like these aren't like salaried Nintendo employees. And they were saying it's possible that we as the spectators are the ones that are just like disconnected from the server or whatever. Like obviously none of us, we didn't know the implementation of Smash Ultimates online, right? So we're not going to sit here and question them. We're like, oh, well, if you're saying that, we're likely to have some poor internet on our side and like that might be causing us to stutter, it's totally possible. So Jordan, just being the consummate professional that he is, kind of dressed it up like that. I probably wouldn't have said anything at all if it was me, but I guess he just felt like, well, we don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know if it's on our side or not. I'm just going to dress it up like this is on our side. I had barely played Ultimate at this point. I played a lot more Ultimate, honestly, after this had happened. So I'm not going to sit here and question it. But at the time, it was like, none of us knew that it was going to be taken out of hand and, kind of memed on so hard by the internet. I think in retrospect, I'm really glad that this happened. At the time, I think none of us really knew the extent of Smash Ultimate Online and how suffering it can possibly be. And I just didn't want to contradict what I was hearing because I didn't know any better. What would I have done differently if it was today? First of all, I probably wouldn't have said anything, or I would make a joke about it downplaying it. I would probably, if this was me today, I would probably say something along the lines of like, well, haha, that's going to happen from time to time, but hopefully we'll get right back to it once the I wouldn't like try to sugarcoat it as if the players aren't experiencing lag, because of course they are. Anyway, let's watch this Evo announcement. By the way, I wanted to also just say how funny I thought it was that the first face that pops up in this video is Taffingans, but no one really talked about it except for Vish. Frame 1. Taffa. How many frames of Taffa was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 frames of Taffakins. Blink and you'll miss him. Gimmer. Alvin. Me. Back before I had hipster glasses. Remember those frames? You guys don't remember that Toph. This Toph was top 100. People who love fighting games. Look at that. Look at that. People who love fighting games. That's me. We're people who love fighting games. Smash is a fighting game. Introducing EVO Online. With the most generic, royalties-free music loop you've ever heard in your life. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, this is definitely workplace trading video music, man. I felt like I was learning how to use, you know, some new proprietary software. I was taking a course on, you know, compliance in the workplace or something like that. I was like, oh my god. Like, they really just... They went from the, you know, Lupe fiasco to this. Like, anyway. Smash famously not on this slide. Like, oh shit, there's no Smash. So, here's the thing. This is the frame nobody's talking about. Special exhibitions and content for EVO 2020's original lineup. 5 weekends of fighting games. So people are saying, like, man, the logistics of this Smash Ultimate tournament, they must have canceled the Smash Ultimate tournament because that'd be way too many entrants. And, you know, let alone the bad netcode. No, the thing is, none of the original games are getting online, you know, like, Smash being off the table has nothing to do with the logistics of running multiple tens of thousands entrant tournament. That was already off the table. We were not, like, we were not getting, and we are not getting online open tournaments for any of these. It's already off the table. None of these are getting exhibitions and they're getting content. It's probably going to be, they're probably going to be character announcements because character announcements are planned many months in advance. Obviously, like, you know, those are very, if you guys watch any other fighting game besides Smash, cricket's on the Smash side because, you know, why would, anyway. But most fighting games, a lot of fighting games have character, you know, there was the G character reveal at Street Fighter. There was the year that me and Scar did Melee Top 8 in the Mandalay Bay, you know, arena for the first year, and they had the Dizzy announcement that I was extremely hyped for. So I would definitely expect character announcements that are still going to take place. Those are probably deals that had to be cut, you know, a long time ago, and that's kind of been something that was being worked on, and so those are still going to happen. They'll probably line up exhibitions. The thing is, though, right, they're not running open brackets for any of these. So, like, even the netcode thing, and this is kind of where I made that tweet about how poetic it is. I think that the games with good netcode are getting tournaments at open tournaments at EVO, and these aren't. If I'm being perfectly honest, I don't think the netcode thing per se is the reason why Smash isn't on here, right? EVO probably made a call where it was like, okay, look, online tournaments. This is all speculation from here on out, but it's like, look, open bracket tournaments internationally for these are going to be a shit show. First of all, there's going to be a ton of DQs, right? Second of all, people are going to have all these crazy lag disputes and things like that. But then from there, like, I don't think Smash being pulled at anything. Like, you could totally run an exhibition of, say, like what, ESAM, for example. ESAM's a Nintendo ambassador, right? Who else? Mewtwo King, I think, is a Nintendo brand ambassador. I don't know if Nairo is. If Nintendo wanted to, they could. Nairo plays online all day, and, like, he's very good at online. And when he plays with other East Coast players or whatever, they, like, the matches look pretty good. They don't look that bad. Zero, right? You could reasonably do an exhibition with, I don't know, Zero and ESAM or whatever, right? And you could call it a day. Like, Nintendo could totally do that if they wanted. It would not make them look bad. Again, I like, part of me doing this stream is kind of deflating a lot of the conspiracy theories. Nintendo's pulling this stuff. Nintendo's telling people in this the Smash Ultimate Invitational broadcast, they gotta cover up the lag, and they gotta pull this tournament because of the lag. I don't really think that's what's going on. And you'll notice it's never formally explicitly said, by the way, there's no Smash Ultimate. It's just a missing logo on this. Right? It's just a missing logo on this slide. That's all it is. I think it's super likely that Smash Ultimate could still happen, and it's just the deal hasn't been cut yet because Nintendo famously is just a little bit slower to work with because, you know, they're just not in as tight of communication with their competitive community as a lot of these other fighting game developers. I think that's all this is. Now, that being said, these games not having online brackets, that's 100% netcode. I would not be surprised if the people that are making the call on what tournaments can be run where in terms of Smash Ultimate, I would not be surprised if those people have no idea that Smash Ultimate has bad online, right? Like, I would not be surprised if those guys have not heard of the Fix Ultimate Online Smash hashtag at all. the last time, you know, they kind of broke the silence on something like this was a week or two ago when the Fix Ultimate Online hashtag was spreading, right? And it was kind of dressed up as part of this like character announcement, this DLC announcement, where they said, just so you guys know, you know, we had our DLC scheduled for characters and we're still moving that forward. And it's gonna be, we've got some new stuff for you, but it might take a little bit longer or what have you, this, that, and the other. And by the way, there are no plans to do anything with regards to the online infrastructure. Like they snuck in that little bit that was like, hey, we saw your hashtag, and like, yeah, man, we're just not gonna work on that right now. That's actually the first time they've said anything indicating that they know about the extent of their lag-based problems. Let me take a step back. This is what kind of being at a big company is like, right? People say this about Twitter, for example. Like people say, you know, like Twitter will roll out some new product or they'll be testing some new feature or something, and people say, well, why are you doing this when you can improve the moderation on your website? And the reality is, like, when you're working at a big company, different teams are responsible for different things. And you can't just take someone that's working on this thing and be like, oh, it turns out we really need this because a lot of people are asking for it. So you stop working on what you're doing, the thing that we hired you for, and start working on this. Like, it just doesn't work that way. Like, what's more likely to happen is they'll open up hiring opportunities in this new team where they need something to happen. And, you know, worst case scenario, they'll lay off people who are doing the other thing, because you can't just move people to work on something that they weren't hired to do. They might not have a background in that at all, right? So with Nintendo, like Nintendo of Japan, who's obviously making these games, you know, they're the people that are building the online infrastructure. They're the people that are making the game. Nintendo of America, they're basically doing PR for America, right? They're doing product marketing. They're getting the word on Nintendo games out. They're not making games. They're not coding up the online. Their job is basically to get people to play Nintendo games, to make Nintendo games look hype. One thing we do know now about Smash Ultimate's online, you know, and the way that its netcode works is that Smash Ultimate has a very high amount of input delay natively, even playing offline, right? Like, you can, like, literally playing offline, there's already like 7 frames of input delay, 7 or 8 frames or something like that. It feels pretty laggy. And the thing is, like, you know, normally you would leverage that input buffer to, like, the reason, like, that was the thing. I had a coworker at Twitch. Shout out Sean McCabe. If any old school Twitch people in the chat, Sean McCabe used to talk about how smart he thought it was. He was like, Street Fighter V, it's so smart that they did 7 frames of input delay, because then you can use those 7 frames of input delay when you're playing online to standardize it so that there's always 7 frames of input delay when you're playing offline at tournaments at 7 frames. When you're playing online with your buddies or online on ranked matchmaking, it's 7 frames of input delay. You're using that 7 frames of input delay as a buffer. So you're always getting the same experience. It's going to soak the latency. That's right. It's like you've already got this. It's always going to be 7 frames. Offline's going to feel just like online. You can go on ranked and have this 7 frame input delay experience, and then you can take that experience and bring it to a tournament. You can react to the exact same stuff. And I was like, Sean, you're an idiot. But hey, I see where you're coming from. You're making a point. At least it's standardized. You're getting a little 200 IQ for me. But you're right, at least it's standardized. And then Smash Ultimate comes out, 7 frames of input delay, all well and good, but they're not using it to soak up any of the latency. They just pile more frames of input delay on top of that. It's so with Smash, it's 7 frame. I think it could be more, but let's say it's 7 frames of input delay offline. And then on top of that, if you're playing online, bare minimum 5 frames of input delay, right? So bare minimum with the perfect connection, both players running fiber or whatever the hell, it's like bare minimum 12 frames. And that's kind of why I say that Smash Ultimate Online is just, it's so fundamentally a different experience online than every other fighting game that I've played, where people from the FGC, like, you know, Sajam, notoriously like a rollback fanatic. And I think also, I want to talk about kind of, because I think a lot of Smashers these days, you know, we're on Twitter and we hear about the phrase rollback netcode, and I think a lot of Smashers don't appreciate necessarily. I think there's a lot of misconceptions. A lot of people who play Melee think that Melee Online is rollback. It's not. So the best fighting games today, as far as netcode goes, are pretty much games written by Western developers. So there's 4 games that are having open online brackets: Mortal Kombat 11, Aftermath, Killer Instinct, Them's Fightin' Nerds, and Skullgirls, which Skullgirls, man, if you guys remember EVO 2013, this was the game that Melee beat out, quote unquote, in the breast cancer donation drive. where Skullgirls and Melee were neck and neck until the very end. And Skullgirls, I think ever since then, their community has not been given a chance at EVO, really. And their community has been pretty salty about it, where I've seen a lot of Skullgirls players actually saying, like, hey, F that, you know, EVO wants us now, like, after snubbing our game year after year. Our game is, you know, back when it was hype, you guys weren't including it on the EVO roster, and now just because we got good netcode, you need us? Like, forget about it. So I've seen a lot of bad blood with some of the Skullgirls players and EVO, so this is a whole nother basket of worms. But yeah, these are the 4 games, and this is kind of what I consider to be the top tier of netcode, where from what I've heard, you could just kind of open up the game and play people from anywhere, and it's going to feel great, no matter what the internet connection status is like. So that's why I think there's actually 3 tiers. The next tier down is these games. I consider the second tier of online fighting games to be these. I've been playing a lot of Granblue Versus. If you guys, I've been streaming this game roughly twice a week. And I will say that these games, and by the way, I would put Melee in this category, where if you're playing in region, both players with a wired connection, both players, you know, not too far from each other, it feels good. And I have fiber, right? So I'm blessed. I'm lucky enough to have a very good online connection. I entered, you heard it here first. Actually, you didn't hear it here first. I already tweeted about it about an hour ago, 2 hours ago. But I entered Ginger's Smurf only shitfest yesterday. I was the green fox that taunted that Falco 5 times.
We got Green Fox versus a neutral colored Falco. Holy shit. Okay. Oh my god, at the time. This is what you like to see from Ginger's shit show. This Falco looking clueless right now. Is this gonna be a JV5? A second taunt. He says, I don't even want the JV5. Oh dear god. He's just rolling around.
It was 10 delay because it was West Coast to Midwest, but more importantly, it was probably fiber to non-fiber. I would not have entered at all if it wasn't fiber. I actually explicitly asked Ginger the week before. I asked him, hey man, can I enter from the West Coast if I have fiber? And he said, the rules state, the rules that I wrote, this is Ginger's words, not mine. He said, the rules that I wrote state that you can only call a moderator if it is worse than 10 frame delay. So if you're playing on 10 frame, or 10 buffer, I should say, because you cut it in half. So it's actually 5 frame delay. So he said, if it's 10 buffer or worse, they can call a moderator. It felt awful. I saw someone in chat saying, there's no way this is plup. Correct. I was not plup. There's no way this is plup, that guy said. There's no way this is plup because he's missing a lot of L cancels. I don't miss L cancels like that offline. I was missing those L cancels because 10 delay is a lot. 10 buffer is really hard. You gotta press L like normally you press it right before you hit the ground, right? You gotta press it like up here. It's really different. Anyway, for me, basically the tier list right now is like Smash Ultimate at the very bottom in F, and then and in C or whatever is like Melee and games like Granblue Versus and Street Fighter and more modern fighting games that have delay-based systems. And then at the very top is the games that are rollback in the EVO roster. All right, peace out, guys. We're going to do this again. This was a super fun stream. Thanks for kicking it. Thanks for hanging out. Peace out, guys.